working, so you are live now.
Yeah.
Thank you for your patience.
There we go. Thank you, Madeline. Appreciate all you do. All right, welcome to the Historic Preservation Commission meeting for Tuesday, July 11th. It is 7:05. The meeting shall come to order, a quorum being present. The commission operates pursuant to the land use article of the annotated code of the state of Maryland. Local authority is derived from municipal code of the city of Annapolis, chapter 21, section 56. The purpose of the HPC is to preserve sites, structures of historical, cultural, archaeological, and architectural significance. Requirements for serving on the commission are detailed in chapter 21, section 8.06. The HPC operates pursuant to the State of Maryland Open Meetings Act, and therefore no pending application shall be discussed between or among commissioners outside the public hearing. Okay, that's the first thing. Next on the agenda is roll call. We have Bill Williams.
Here.
Will Scott.
Present.
Leslie Xavier.
Here.
Kevin Smith.
Here.
Bobby Collins, who serves as our vice chair.
Here.
I am Tim Leahy. I serve as chair. And hopefully Kim Finch will be joining us in a minute. All right. Next on the agenda is announcements. John, any announcements for the good of the commission? And then the commissioners can chime in too.
One small announcement. Jackie Rouse can't get into the meeting. She just texted me.
Okay.
I just sent her an email.
Okay.
Okay. Says my link has expired. Eric Lashinsky would like to come to our July 27th meeting to show us the comprehensive plan for the city.
Okay.
He's the chief of current planning.
Sure. I would welcome him. And other commissioners, maybe we should. We have some other things on the agenda. I think at least 2 pre-apps.
Well,
Yeah.
they're pending. If they move forward with their zoning review.
I would make accommodation for Eric because it's important that we participate in that process. I think that's my opinion. Other commissioners?
Well, it's very important that we participate. Tim, you're correct.
Yeah.
But the comprehensive plan is usually a very substantial document. And I don't really see the last week of July as the proper time to even introduce it, unless there's something we know about the scheduling and agenda going forward that would make that seem necessary.
Well, let me say, Eric could probably be persuaded to come more than once, and we could give him an hour and go to a certain point with the plan, and then ask him to come again in September.
Well, John, I would appreciate his flexibility and your thoughtfulness in suggesting that, but I'll be more blunt. I don't want to take that up at the end of July and then have to piecemeal it through and think about it again in 2 months. As somebody who's been through, you've been through a lot of them, so have I. I don't think that's really the best way to proceed.
No,
okay,
I think it stands as a document, as a plan from A to Z, and conforms to a very specific format. And we'll be wanting to see. On the one hand, I would love to just see what are the preservation aspects of just the plan, but that would be the second discussion, not the first. So, what do you think? Should we ask for him to just come first meeting in September?
I would suggest that, or what you just said, Tim, is a way of going forward that I would feel comfortable with if Eric wants to get something out there to us right away.
Yeah, and I've seen his
preservation.
presentation. I mean, I've been following it, and I've seen his presentation already myself. Maybe what we can do is we're interested in how the preservation themes, there are themes in these chapters, weave through the different topics, and maybe if we ask him to focus on that, we can get that viewed in July. How's that sound?
I would agree that that's a good approach.
Okay. We don't need necessarily to see all of the
Yeah,
citywide housing, for instance, is a huge
Yeah.
section of the plan.
Right.
We as citizens should be interested in that, but maybe as the commission, we can ask him to
Right.
focus on the aspects of preservation that we hope are woven through the plan.
yes.
So I can approach him about that and then ask if he can come and speak about that. And that would be acceptable for July, you think?
I would propose that to other commissioners. We don't need a motion, but
No,
good.
I agree.
Oh,
I agree.
Okay,
Great.
great. Kevin, you good with that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right. That'd be great, John. Thanks.
Okay, good.
Any other announcements from commissioners? There was one kind of John, there's a new planning director. So he was announced last night. And the other thing in city staff, I think that the acting director of public works is now officially director, I can't remember his last name, is also in place. So
Right, Burr Vogel,
Burr Vogel.
Vogel. Yeah.
Okay, great.
And
So
Burr seems like a work with kind of person and an out of the box thinker.
great. Cool. Okay. If there's no other announcements, I'll move on to the next item on the agenda, approval of draft minutes.
Tim, Burr is still acting director of public works. They
Oh.
haven't put him up for confirmation yet.
Oh, okay. Well,
Just to clarify.
he's acting very well. He's acting in that capacity. So he's
Well, let me
chiming in.
tell you, I saw him with the mayor, and I said, "So, Burr, what is your title?" And Gavin said he is director of public works.
right.
That's what he said.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I agree, Tim. Well, yeah.
It might. Yeah, he might not have gone through the city council process yet. I thought he had. But they rushed. They did get Chris Jakubiak in place quite quickly. In fact, approved last night.
Well, what's Chris going to be in charge of?
He is director of planning and zoning.
Wow.
He's returning.
Terrific. Chris is a very fine fellow.
We remember him from 2015. All right. Next on the agenda, I might need your help here, Kim Consoli, for who was present at June 13th for the approval of minutes. I don't have them in front of me.
I'm sorry, I have to pull it up.
I'm
It
sorry.
looks like the only commissioner was Leslie.
Okay. So Leslie, you will abstain if you don't mind. All right. Are there any changes or updates to the minutes from June 13th, 2013? All right. Can I have a motion to accept those minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, good. How about June 25th?
June 22nd.
Oh, on the agenda it says June 25th, but okay, June 22nd is accurate.
Kevin Smith and Bill Williams were absent.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. All right. Any comments, changes to the minutes from June 22nd? All right. Can I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Okay, great. Thank you. Next on the agenda is violations and status of active violations. John, anything you'd like to report? How's your life been?
I should I bring up my potential interview regarding violations?
Well, you just did. So yeah.
Okay, then I'm going to put some flesh on those bones.
Okay.
I was contacted by Mitchell in the mayor's office, who is director of communications for the mayor, and Rebecca Ritzel would like to talk to me, interview me about the removal of lights on businesses downtown. So it's interesting that I have the possibility of being interviewed for the paper to deal with violations that were actually, how should I put this? They went through the process and they had a positive outcome. But I don't have any trouble with that. Let me say, I do not have an ounce of trouble with it because we did things properly by the book and they were consistent and not arbitrary. And by the book, I mean by our guidelines. So just letting you know that no good deed goes unpunished.
There you go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
John, did you see the photo essay in the Capitol remarking on HPC Commission's enforcement of the lighting policy downtown?
I haven't seen it, no.
No.
It's on the website. It's way down. I saw it last week. I told Tim I'd dig out the link and I'll send it to you. It's basically one caption on about, I want to say 10 or 12 photos, basically saying that the Historic Preservation Commission I can't remember the exact wording of it. I apologize. But basically enforcing the lighting rules on downtown businesses, and that businesses, it's implied that several businesses aren't happy with this. So let me find the link and I'll send it to you. And I don't know if that's related to why they now want to talk to you.
Right.
They're stirring up trouble, which they usually do.
Yeah, I'm
Well, there's
fine
two
with
sides
it.
to the story, and we have our side, and
Yeah.
we've been through it with the businesses and the owners of the buildings as well.
Yeah.
Well,
And
owners of the buildings is the easiest avenue to having violations removed.
Yeah. And they're welcome back to the holiday season. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Temporary. Okay. Anything else, John?
Well, we could talk about process with zoning and
We'll do that under administrative business at the end.
Okay. Then we can move on. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Next on the agenda is the consent docket. The consent docket is a procedure that enables us to move an application forward if it has the approval of or approval with minor conditions from all staff and commissioners and all staff and technical advisors, and does not have and therefore can be voted on as a group. We have two applications tonight eligible. Oh, that's right. The other thing, it doesn't have any public comment in opposition. 75 Conduit Street, which is the first item on the agenda on new business, we need to talk about because there was a public comment on that. But 91, 93 Main Street and 111 Market Street are both on the consent docket, having met the requirements. So Bobby, can you give me a motion for them and also state the conditions that are on? There's no condition on 111 Market Street that got exuberant blessing.
Actually, I'm going to do them in order on the agenda. The first one is 91-93 Main Street. I move that we approve the application for that address, given that the owner agrees to the following condition. I'm going to read it so that it's in the record. The condition of approval requires that the porches be kept free of clutter and that all exterior furniture and fixtures be submitted to HPC administrative review and must meet HPC standards for materials and design, which exclude PVC or other synthetic materials, and require that outdoor furniture or planters be constructed of wood or metal or terracotta. The HPC requires that no outdoor cooking or grilling equipment or appliance can be located or used on the balconies without consent of the fire marshal's office. If approved by the fire marshal's office, the cooking or grilling equipment or appliances must be removed from the balcony when not in use. We need the owners. I don't know if they're on the call.
If you can promote, I guess it's David from ABS. We just need David for you to acknowledge those conditions.
Sorry.
Okay. So it would be approved with that condition. And do you acknowledge that condition?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, we
very
do.
good. All right, then the next one.
We need a second.
Second,
Second.
All in favor of 93 Main Street being on the consent docket and approved?
aye,
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, great. And Kim Consoli will add the items to the agenda, to the exhibits to the record, the application and the staff report. And the revised application. There was a revised application on this one, removing the decks. Okay, great. All right, Bobby, go forward.
And then the second one is 111 Market Street. I move that we approve this application as it meets with guidelines B6 and D1, Secretary of the Interior Standards 6, 9, and 10. With the following condition, a building permit must be obtained, but that's standard, so.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain. All right, so the consent docket is complete. Thank you. You may go forward. There's no need to further testify, and just please remove the beautifully handwritten sign from your property as soon as you can. And
May we be excused, Mr. Chairman?
you may be.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Oh, Christopher, I assume you're with one of those two properties.
I am with 111 Market. Thank you so much.
You are free to go. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is new business 75 Conduit Street. I believe we have someone present to make a presentation. Barb, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Welcome. We have your presentation in front of us and we have seen the staff report. Is there anything else you'd like us to know? We also, after you speak, I'll acknowledge the email we received and your response, but is there anything else you'd like us to know?
I can't think of anything, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Do any commissioners have questions, clarifying questions for Ms. Brown? No? Okay. There was an email from Joanne Shelley at 77 Conduit Street, which is in the record and will be an exhibit. Commissioners, did you have a chance to read that? And also,
Yes.
did you have a chance to read, which is also Ms. Brown's response to it?
Yes.
I did not see either.
They're in the drive.
Remember where I am?
Oh, yeah.
No, honestly, I didn't see any notice that anything had
Okay.
arrived, so I didn't check. It's probably
Okay.
there. I
Well,
apologize.
That's okay. There were several questions about there was a site survey
Mhm.
and a concern. I think that the quality of work might have an impact on the adjacent property. It is a duplex. I think Ms. Brown responded to each of those. So the other commissioners, did you all have a chance to read both of those? Yes. Any concerns or questions about either? Okay, I'm seeing no response.
No concerns.
We're good. Bobby, Kim, Bill. Okay. Well, those are both in the record, and I think they did not raise additional concerns compared to the staff report, which, so from a deliberation point of view, we can go into deliberations now. Does anyone have any additional comments? John, would you like to, your staff report was pretty clear. Would you like to make any comment, John?
It's, how should I put this? The back of the houses there are uniformly altered. Typically, even if something is outside of the period of significance, if I can persuade an applicant to keep the form, I will. In this case, there's so much precedent for remodels of kitchens which have changed fenestration and door position. And if I'm reading things correctly, this is an early 20th century house which has the entrance to the kitchen on one side and then the door going out on another side, which is pretty typical of that era when the kitchen was really a workroom. These days, more space is needed, so it is logical that the door would need to be shifted. That I think we can accommodate because it isn't really a character defining feature for the house, and puts it in, let me say, in concert with the other rear elevations within the immediate neighborhood.
As long as those others are relatively in compliance with guidelines. Which
Well,
they-
some of them more so than others, and I think
Right.
this is actually a better.
I
design.
would agree. I think this is a very simple change. And all the materials are in accordance with the guidelines. Yeah, and your staff report was an unconditional approval. All right, then I think I'm ready to take a motion. Can I hear a motion to approve 111 or 75 Conduit Street?
I move that we approve the application at 75 Conduit Street.
Okay, second.
I second.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. Okay, Ms.
Aye.
Brown?
Tim, I will abstain since I didn't review those two
Okay,
documents.
okay, thank you. That's great. Thank you. I forgot you were in Maine. Thanks for tuning in. All right, thanks, Ms. Brown.
Thank
Good luck.
you.
And I'm sure the quality, you got a good quality construction and I'll do the good work, so. All right, thank you. All right. It's only 7:27, but I got a few items for administrative business. We had a situation where we were going to review something tonight on Church Circle, but between John and Jackie and I, we discussed the fact that it was important that our pre-application process, we try to extend as a courtesy, and we are pretty flexible in providing feedback. But when it's a large project and there's a fairly significant zoning issue that hasn't been discussed yet with the Office of Zoning, we're kind of wasting our time. I don't mind the time so much. We shouldn't use our time frivolously. I never would say that, but we do provide feedback. But in the case of this one, the on the third story, if you remember, this is the old Maryland National Bank building, fairly significant addition to the third floor, what had really not been reviewed even preliminarily, and so there's FAR issues and there's setback issues. So we from now forward, we're going to ask John to screen any pre-applications to make sure that major zoning issues have been discussed. And by the time it gets to a pre-application, we might have some minor zoning things, but major are not there. It wasn't just this application. It's going to come up. It was also an issue with what we reviewed at Compromise Street in the hotel. And in the end, as it turned out, with the Burtis house, there was an issue that didn't surface. It wasn't surfaced because of the discussion that hadn't happened. So from now on, we're going to be a little more structured and keep it moving. And I think it's to the benefit of the applicant as well, because they're not going to get mixed feedback from us. It's feasible, but then later it's not. So
Tim, it's also an issue for the Four Church Circle project.
I was going to bring that up. Yep. So
Yeah.
it recurred. It's happening a lot. So we just need to be a little more structured. We've always had it in our procedure that you can't get a final approval until all zoning, but now we're finding that zoning review, even at the preliminary level, is not happening in advance for a pre-app. So we're going to require John and Jackie are going to screen that for us from now on.
Excellent.
I agree.
Okay, that's great. And as far as the zoning review last night, the zoning 01523 or 02315, that occurred at last night's City Council meeting. I encourage you to watch the meeting because although the discussion went well beyond just that simple base flood elevation definition. We had asked that it be connected to the actual definition over in the zoning code, and that was what the amendment said. But there was much more testimony about City Dock in general, and the Burtis House in particular. And I think it's important that we understand where that project is. There is a zoning overlay on the historic district that's the maritime conservation district that has a different height restriction, and it was unclear. That was just raised that there are these two height restrictions. Burtis House is in height district 2 from HPC point of view, but in the overlay, it's got a more restrictive height. So that caused some confusion. I think it will be hopefully resolved either by a minor change in the design, or perhaps, I don't know, Jackie, whether they're going to ask for a variance.
Well, I didn't really understand that part last night when they were talking about the Burtis House, because it's in the WMC Maritime District, and when so what it says in the WMC district is if there's a difference between the height requirement in the WMC and in the HPC height district, the more restrictive applies. And I did not feel like whatever they were talking about last night, I didn't see where any of that got resolved.
No, it didn't.
It was just mystery. It was a mystery to me. So
well, in the testimony that was brought up, that they didn't actually focus on resolving that issue in the discussion.
Right.
The discussion.
So I don't know. See how.
I don't know what the applicant's going to do with
There
the
was a
balls.
lot of confusing things about raising the grade around it, and I just felt it was all kind of.
Yeah.
It was just very confusing.
I think
unless
eventually
they're planning on letting the Burtis House be raised up on some temporary basis with it for a specified. There was talk about, oh well, they can do this for 3 years, and then at the end of the 3 years, it was just really bizarre.
Right, and we've
So-
understood all along that the idea is that the Burtis House is being raised to a certain level, and eventually the rest of the project would come into compliance with that. That's understood.
Mhm.
That could not be made clear.
Well, another solution would be that they just expand the scope of the City Dock project to include the end of Prince George and the Burtis House, so that you have a holistic design
Correct.
for the whole thing. I mean, that just seems like
That is what we've been encouraging for
Yes.
years.
right.
And actually, Rob Savage put the onus on them to do that. So it's up to the City Dock group and the
Right,
Burtis
yeah.
group to get together and solve this. So I just wanted to let you all know that discussion occurred. It's up to the applicant, the Burtis House applicant, if they want to make a minor some change. We may or may not be able to see them again, because their pre-applications were clear to us in May 7th.
Mhm.
So we'll see what happens next.
Okay.
but,
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting. So
Yeah,
I think we're on the same page, though.
yeah. Burr did clarify the fact that there are, when the final decision is made, there are certain options about how to handle the grade, but it was just,
Right.
it just couldn't, the presentation couldn't make it clear to
Right.
the aldermen that were participating in the discussion. So take a look.
Tim, since it's a matter of public record and I am at summary move and don't know how well I can review it, do you mind telling me which were the alder persons who seem to have the most difficulty understanding the process?
Well, it's not the process. It was more or less the engineering around it. And how it was going to be resolved. Rob Savage was doing his best to understand it and get the clarifying questions, but it just didn't seem there. It just didn't see the steps for how the Burtis House is ahead of the rest of City Dock in terms of its dealing with height, and when it catches up, it'll resolve itself, and that. There were really only 2 or 3
right.
people. Ellie was participating.
Yeah.
Ellie was, of course, participating. Ross and Rob were the ones actively involved.
But I think that Burr at even one point said, well, when we get to that point, they may have to lift where they're raising the grade, they may have to lift it up again.
Yeah, he raised
And-
having.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
he had
think,
two-
I honestly
they're
don't
just not
feel
there
like
yet.
they have a solution at this point
we
about
don't know
how that's all
until,
gonna work.
Right.
So-
Jackie, I tend to think you're right. Every conversation I've had with any of the people that are central to the process, it's got 1,000 moving parts, and
Uh-huh,
one part has to be solidified, so the next part can be, but there might be a change from what they currently plan. It's just somehow we have to get our head around the fact that this is a major project
Yeah.
with all these moving parts, and it either is going to die because we pick at every one of them, or it's going to go forward
Right.
with change in the process.
right,
hopefully the outcome will be what we've been asking for, that the Bertis House team, which is being led by an architect and also by Preservation Maryland, and the city dock team sit down and somehow create a schematic that shows maybe Bertis House here in a year, and then the rest of the ground coming up in 2 years, which is
Yeah.
I think conceptually
Right.
we can understand it because we deal with it a lot. But the bottom line is that hopefully that happens, and the change, the clarifying change to the code for defining base elevation, which height will be measured from, was passed, and now we have clear guidance when we see an application to calculate whether, where to start our 28-foot and 38-foot calculation from. So it's clearer now to us than it has been.
so, and the
That's
other
good.
thing was that I think that one of the reasons Rob was bringing up the issue was that I think they may have been under the impression that since this was applied to this AE zone, that it would apply to all the AE property. And that had to be clarified, that this was just very specific to this small area, and that there would have to be further legislation that, where they look at other areas of the city that are in the AE zone, because the AE zone encompasses,
Eastport.
across the creek and
Yeah,
Eastport, and but this only applies to this one section of the AE zone.
Yeah. And that wasn't there was a lot of discussion around that, and
Right, I
for
don't
moving
think, and I don't think the council, I don't think some of the aldermen, I don't think they understood that. I think there were some that thought it was going to apply to the whole AE zone, but it can't, because it's an amendment to the height district under the historic district regulations. It's not an amendment. It's a very targeted amendment.
It is, and they chose to do it that way, and that's
Yes,
their
they
choice.
did. And so it does get confusing when you try and explain to people why it
Yeah.
only applies to a very limited number of
And
properties.
Eric Lashinsky made a statement that's what they chose to do at this time,
Right.
and that's their prerogative. I mean, I think it would.
I think the issue is, I think that they felt that they had to do this in order to get the FEMA funding
That's correct.
for the city dock project, and it had to be targeted this way in order to accomplish that goal, as I understand
Yeah.
it. So,
Well, we've been in support of this since April 27th.
right.
So,
Yes.
okay. The only other quick item that I had is I did make some progress on looking in regard for revising the guidelines, the design guidelines. I have done some research over the last week on RFPs, asked from our NAPC listserv for some samples. So I've gotten at least one sample, and I've gotten some recommendations on consultants. So I have moved forward that John and I need to work now in terms of procurement to figure out what kind of boilerplate we would need to put in an RFP, because it'll need to be issued by the city. There'll be lots of boilerplate, typical procurement boilerplate, which I don't know anything about. I can write the scope of work and show that to you. And it's not a big scope of work for right now. I got some real good information from a few people and other have gone through this recently. And so I've been having conversations. But so what I'll do is put a little deadline on myself to have a rough draft on the scope of work for you at the end of for July, but the RFP is going to have, I don't know the whole process about how to issue that. The funding, $20,000 is in place from the state, and we are looking, John was also confirmed with John that we'll be able to get some more from the city, and there's another grant that I'm aware of, at least, that we can apply for from Chesapeake Crossroads Heritage Area. So that's an update on that. Kim, you have a question?
Yeah, well, I think I sent you an email, I hope it arrived, about that what is it again? NAPC? Okay, I always get it wrong. Oh, no,
Yeah, NAPC, yeah.
yeah, is offering a virtual training this summer, sort of an update, and that is going to be very reasonable based on our membership. And I wondered what your response was to that.
I saw that, and yeah, I think it's great. I distributed it to the rest of the commissioners. I think Bobby said she was planning on attending. So I think it's a 2-day session virtual. So I did distribute it, Kim. It can be covered by our funds.
It's very reasonable, and
Yep.
and it seems like it might inform us, especially if we're looking forward to moving on our guidelines and things.
Yeah,
Because I've been regularly watching their
the content is great.
webinars on local experiences and things
Yeah.
like that, and I think I went along. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, Tim. I went to this training quite a while ago, and then we went to some conferences, but I haven't been in a while. And so I would be interested in what's currently happening out there.
Yeah, I agree. Every time there's the issues are the same all around the country, and you always feel like the things we're dealing with, we're not alone. First of all, I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel. And there's some people really thinking about the issues that we talk about.
Yeah.
And we also had some funds remaining from last year that I recommended that we go ahead and pre-reserve. We can spend it later in our calendar year for additional training. So when we don't have a full agenda sometime, I will propose a training session.
Thank you. That would be great. But I would think it would be really useful, especially if we're headed into design guideline review.
Absolutely.
And things like that. I just see that would be really useful. And I'm also looking forward now, not necessarily looking forward to going to Florida, but I'm looking forward to going to next year's conference in West Palm Springs. Because actually recently I have been down there, and the amount of stuff that's happening in Florida about historic preservation and environmental conservation would impress you, in spite of the other noise you hear about Florida. They've done wonderful things, and also to address climate change because they're so impacted.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, it's next July in West
Palm Springs.
Yeah, we have a friend in Lake Worth, Florida. It's a great example. Lake Worth is a great example.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't the conference in Florida be in like February?
I know.
No, it's always in July, and
it's always in July.
Alabama.
Yeah, it's always in July.
We had Alabama in July. I was like, what? And then we
probably get cheaper hotel rooms then or something.
No, I don't know, but we had a great time. It was wonderful experience, and they treated us very well in Mobile. So
I find these conferences to be great.
Gulf Shores.
Okay.
So it was a really wonderful experience going there and just seeing a different range of things. So that was, I believe that's the last conference I went to, Tim, because I had to pass on Cincinnati last year. Yep.
Cincinnati was great.
Karen Kennedy and Roberta used to tell us this was a great conference to go to.
In fact, there's a call out for presentations, and Rachel Robinson has already said she's looking forward to presenting, and maybe we can participate with her.
You know what? I'm going to bring that up actually, because I thought
maybe you volunteered.
No, well, because I think our focus on climate adaptation over the years and,
Yes.
these current issues about a floodplain and things like that are very pertinent to anything that's got a shoreline on the Atlantic.
Absolutely, absolutely,
And-
anywhere.
And I think we started when we handled the Keeping History Above Waters
Mhm.
conference.
Mhm.
I think we were, what? Yeah, we were very forward thinking about dealing with climate change, and now climate change is, as a
Yeah.
professional planner, it's hugely on my plate every day of the
Yeah.
week.
I had a conversation with Jackie Guile that I want to go back to that document and tick off what we've actually done, because we've actually used that document for guiding some of the things the city has done. So we ought to actually, I'll do that too.
No.
Make ourselves feel like we're using a document. It's not just sitting on the shelf.
No, we were leaders in a lot of things. It was amazing how we were able to step up and get ahead of that and attach that to hazard mitigation plans. And I'm looking at revising I'm assigned to revising hazard mitigation plans in Prince George's County right now. And I see that all of those things are now being added into the mix. So it was an important conference in many ways.
Agreed.
And thank you.
Okay, sure. Thank you for bringing that up. Those are good topics. Other business, anybody? Commissioners? Yeah. Bobby?
Have we thought at all, now that Hillman is open, about if we're going to be making any changes in terms of meetings and anything this fall?
We haven't talked about it. Most recently, I mean, I'm in favor of live meetings. I know there's others that would prefer maybe hybrid. What are polling the commissioners?
Yeah. I'd like to hear thoughts.
I thought we were told we couldn't do it.
We were told it was costly. We weren't told it was not possible. We just need to
Oh,
argue if we feel strongly.
Yeah, I've seen
I-
you do hybrid meetings any number of times, so we know.
It's so easy to do hybrid meetings.
Yeah. I would
Go ahead,
prefer hybrid.
Okay, Leslie?
Hybrid sounds good for those people that can't make a live meeting.
Yeah.
I'd like to encourage everybody to participate. So I hate to put my foot on somebody.
Okay. Kim's got her hand up, I think.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I mean, I'm handling hybrid at my worship community, and we use an app. We've got whoops, not my dog.
I wish it was mine.
But I've been handling hybrid meetings in my
Yes.
worship community for a while, and it is hugely more convenient to a lot of people, and
Okay.
I think we need to accommodate both,
Yes.
and we've been, and so it wasn't that costly, I have to say.
Well,
for-
the city has the capability to do it. It's within the TV. I think it might be a staffing cost to staff a meeting. It might be different. I'm not sure, but I'll do more research.
Overtime or something.
Well, they're here for now. I mean, I'm not sure what the difference would be whether operating a camera and city council does it, and so does Board of Appeals. So
Well, it
So-
seems like a good model for us.
So maybe I could ask someone to talk about it in our next meeting.
okay,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Either Mark or Julian. I'm not sure Madeline would know, but Mark is probably the right person.
Yeah,
Well,
that would be
We
a
can just
question for
communicate.
Mark.
Maybe we can take this offline and communicate directly with Mark and Hillary and see what are the things we need to satisfy.
Well, I will say in Prince George's County, I mean, there may be legal objections or something, because the county council meetings have all gone back totally online. Or no, I'm sorry, online, in person. You have to show up in person for those. And so I guess we'll have to check legally what the requirements are. But
Yeah.
I would say that I have found a lot of success with it. And people are very happy with not having to make advanced plans, leave their homes, find a
Attendance.
babysitter or a caregiver, whatever it is. And it's worked really well for us.
I think Kevin has raised in the past, we get generally more participation too.
Yeah.
Yeah, attendance from all of us. I mean, we have great attendance. Thank you all. Okay, well, that's still on the, thanks for raising that, Bobby. All right, any other business? All
Oh,
right,
well, I'll just say, we're up to almost 190 applications,
Wow.
which is a lot.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's great. That means people are going through, I mean, people are aware of the process and thank you, John.
John's giving a bonus to people if they will file an application.
I can
Trying to
Incentives.
get he's got some kind of contest thing to go have the
Incentives.
highest numbers.
Yeah. That's
go
awesome.
win this scratch off.
There you go. Hey, that works.
John's going to give somebody a free trip someplace.
He's short.
All righty. Yep, so we'll stand by we may have some pre-apps for the administrative meeting this month, and we'll talk to Eric to see if he's interested or wants to have a focused presentation for us. So that,
When is the next meeting?
it's a week from Thursday, so it's
The 27th.
27, 2 weeks from Thursday.
Okay. And then are you all taking August off?
Yes, we do not have meetings in August. Last year we had a training meeting, or 2 years ago we had a training meeting, but nothing
Right,
planned in
okay.
August this year.
Well, that'll give John ample opportunity to like double his application numbers.
There you go.
Yeah, well, that incentive, the rags to riches scratch off, that's a $5 ticket too.
What? All right. Any other business?
Nope,
Okay. Can I hear a motion to adjourn?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay, abstain. All right.